Hello yoga friends, my name is Becky, this little fluffy munchkin is Bruce, and today we are going to help you nail your crow pose using your trusty friend, the wall. So crow pose is known for being a gateway arm balance to other arm balances, but honestly I find it pretty difficult. It's one that I've struggled with over the years, but using props like the wall, blocks, straps, we can do it. So I'm going to be using a couple of props to demo some different variations today. Don't worry if you don't have yoga bricks or a yoga strap. Just get yourself in a position where you can have your yoga mat up against a wall, preferably a bare wall with no pictures. Although, to be honest, it can be quite low, so ignore that. If you're scared of falling on your face, having a cushion handy is a great idea. Face planting, it happens with crow pose, it's unavoidable. Cool, so you might see I've got two yoga mats here again. Don't worry if you've just got one mat, I'm just being greedy. But to start with, have your mat perpendicular to your wall. And then during class, I'll let you know when you want to just move it so that it's up against the wall. Cool, we're going to get started in legs up the wall. So coming to sit right by your wall, swinging your legs up against the wall, lying on your back, and then just shuffling a little bit closer to the wall. Knees can be a little bit bent. We'll just take a moment to arrive and connect to the breath. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, I invite you to do so. And just bring your awareness now to your breath. Beginning to implement a long, slow, deep inhale and exhale. And setting the intention to maintain this long, slow, deep breath throughout your practice. And I'd invite you to set an intention now to be kind to yourself. When we're learning tricky asana such as crow pose, Bakasana, it can feel disheartening if we don't nail it straight away. But sometimes it's gonna take a few goes. It's taken me years and years of practice to just about get there. You might get it straight away, you might not. Either way, you're doing good. When you're ready, opening up the eyes. And from here, begin to draw your right knee in towards your chest, just taking hold of the shin. And squeeze it in nice and tight. So we're looking for a nice tight hip compression, which is going to be important for our crow pose. So in crow, ideally we want to get the knees as high up the arms as possible, and how well we're able to do that has a lot to do with hip compression. Begin to rock your knee a little bit from side to side if you haven't already, if you're watching me. And just let that leg go back up against the wall, and we'll just take hold of the left knee, well, shin. Rocking from side to side, squeezing it in tight. And just notice if the sensation is different on this side. I have a lot more tightness in my left hip. Great, and then just release that leg back up, lifting your arms up towards the ceiling, make fists and begin to make some circles with the wrists. Crow pose is quite intense on the wrists, as all of our body weight is on our hands. So we want to give the wrists a little bit of love. And you might hate me for this next one, but it is necessary. Begin to flick your fingers. So keeping your arms raised, flicking your fingers as though you're flicking water. And make these flicks as fast as you can. Might feel okay to start with, but in about 10 seconds or so, this is gonna start to feel pretty yucky. But keep going. This is really gonna help warm up the fingers, the hands, the forearms. Keep going. Oh, it gets to a point where it's really hard to keep opening up the hand, but just keep flicking. Flicky, flick, 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 flick. Keep going. A lot of yoga is becoming comfortable when things get uncomfortable and challenging. Can you maintain your breath? Okay, let's keep flicking for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And lower the arms back down. Just take a moment here. Great, from here, bend into the knees, soles of feet up towards the ceiling, and just grabbing hold of shins, ankles, or the outer edges of the feet for happy baby. Maybe you rock a little bit from side to side. Gently drawing these in the direction of the shoulders. They don't need to get anywhere near there. Nice, and find some stillness in your happy baby, and keeping your feet and your legs in this position, release your arms and begin to reach them in between the legs, and from here curl your head and shoulders up away from the mat, starting to wake up the core. And from here begin to pulse up and down, just up an inch, up an inch, up an inch, really squeezing the belly button back towards the spine. Imagine your rib cage drawing in towards the hips. A few more times like this. And then at the top of your curl, hold there. And then release. Keeping your legs as they are. This time, bringing your triceps to the knees. Reaching arms up. And from here, think about really squeezing your knees into the backs of your arms and squeezing the backs of the arms into the knees. So finding some dynamic resistance here. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Core is turned on. You might be shaking a little bit. I'm shaking. And then release. And then from here, once again, finding those curls. Up. Reach. Reach. One more. And then taking backs of the arms back to the knees, seeing how high you can get the knees up to the back of the arms. And then squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. And then curling head and shoulders off the mat, continuing to squeeze. This is your crow pose, but lying down. And release. Whew. Rolling on to one side, and we'll meet in tabletop. So coming onto hands and knees, spread your fingers nice and wide, and just find some cat-cow movements. So inhale, drawing chest forward, tailbone lifts. Exhale, rounding through the spine. Inhale to come forward, and exhale to round, pushing the mat away with your hands. Running down through the knuckles. Nice, one more round. And then come into a neutral spine. From here, like cats make biscuits, begin to make that kind of movement with your hands as though you're trying to pick up the mat with your fingertips. Really dragging the mat. Making your biscuits, making puddings, whatever you like to call it. Nice. Just keep going like this. A little bit more. And then pause. Spreading fingers wide. And then imagine as though you are trying to suck up a milkshake with the hands, like sucking energy up through the floor. This is engaging our Hasta Bandha, energy lock through the hands. This is what is going to be really helpful in our crow pose in terms of maintaining the balance as we use our fingers to help us find the breaks. As a lot of crow pose is about leaning forward to catch our balance, and the fingers are really important for breaking us, preventing us from falling on our face, although it does happen, and that's fine. So from here, finding that sucking up that milkshake with the hands, begin to shift the shoulders forward of the wrists and look forward as though you're peering over the edge of a cliff. And then when you get to a point where your wrists are like, oh, please stop, and then use your fingertips to pull you back. Once more like that, dragging forward, peering over that cliff. Use your fingers as a brake to come back. And then sit on the heels, give the wrists a roll out. It's not the nicest feeling in the world on the wrist. Maybe take some lotus fan rolls. Ooh. Next warm-up exercise. You'll notice that this isn't really a flow class. We're pretty much just doing drills to prep for crow. Coming back into table. Shuffle forward if you're pretty close to the wall. We're going to be sticking our legs back. From here, lift your right leg back, finding that neutral spine, engaging the core, sucking up your hand milkshakes, your milkshakes with your hands. And then from here, bend into the knee and see if you can make contact with the back of the arm as high up as you can. Squeeze the knee into the arm into the leg. And then release the leg back. We'll do that again. So engaging the core, engaging the hand, squeezing knee into the tricep into the knee, and then send the leg back. We'll do that again, but building slightly. So engaging your milkshake hands, core is turned on, squeezing knee into the thigh, this time rounding through the spine, the upper spine like cat pose. And then release. Once more, finding all of those movements. Hasta Bandha with the hands. Knee makes contact with the tricep. Core is engaged and round through the upper spine. And then release. Sit back. Give the wrists a roll. Have yourself a little break. I got a little bit out of breath there. Alright, let's come back into table, and we'll take that to the other side. So this time, finding that core engagement, neutral spine, sending your left foot, oh, I'm a bit close to the wall, sending your left foot back, bend to the knee, Hasta Bandha, sucking up that milkshake with the hands. Take your knee to the tricep. I can't go as high on this side, and that's fine. That's just my hip compression being different on this side. You might feel the same. Send your leg back. And then once more, Hasta Bandha with the hands, core is engaged. Squeezing the knee to the back of the arm into the back of the leg, and release. This time adding rounding of the upper spine as you make this movement. Finding all of those components, rounding through the upper spine. It's not the most graceful thing ever, and it doesn't feel great, but it's making the shape. It's getting your body used to making the shape. One more time, let's go. And then release. Nice. From here, take a child's pose. Knees can be wide. And just release down. Just take a moment. Maybe just shifting the hips from side to side a little, if that feels nice. If child's pose isn't the shape that feels good in your body, feel free to prop it up as necessary, or just take a different resting pose. Maybe you're lying on your back. Okay, take 2 more deep breaths in your child's pose. And then when you're ready, slowly come on up and make your way into a downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet in this down dog, making any movements that feel good. Nice, and then from here rounding forward into a plank, rippling the spine. And then from here shifting shoulders over the wrists, bending the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, back to down dog. Alright, from this down dog, you might just want to shorten your stance ever so slightly. Bend into the knees and find some bouncing movements. And then maybe from here, see if you can jump forward into Malasana. And then stepping back to down dog. Let's do that again. So just find some bounces. And then jump forward to Malasana. Okay, and then stepping back. One more like this. Bounce, 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 and jump from your Malasana. Hold here. I'm going to turn to face you. From here, really think about squeezing the knees into the arms into the leg, finding that dynamic opposition movement again. This is what's going to hold us in our crow pose. Squeeze, 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 smile. And release. From here, begin to straighten the legs, heel toe the feet in so they're about hips width apart, taking a forward fold. Option to stay in stillness or take hold of opposite elbows and just gently sway from side to side. Allowing the crown of the head to release towards the mat. Knees can be bent generously so that your torso drapes over the thighs. Nice, and then from here finding stillness. On an inhale, come up into your halfway lift, flat back. Exhale to rebend, step back to plank. Make sure you're not about to headbutt your wall as you shift forward and bend the elbows for chaturanga. Going up to upward dog. And exhale brings you to downward facing dog. From here, walking the hands back towards the feet. And then just rolling up through the spine, nice and slow. And we'll meet in Tadasana. Okay, from here, this may be the moment where you want to just flip your mat so that it's facing the wall. And we're coming into a warrior two up against the wall. Just adjusting your feet as necessary. It feels different up against the wall. Alright, and then from here, begin to make your way into side angle. For this one, I'd recommend having your fingertips to the mat or to a block. Right arm raises up towards the ceiling, or the other arm, it depends which way you're doing. I didn't quite make that clear. Doesn't matter. Whichever arm you have on the mat or to your block, really think about squeezing once again that arm into the leg, leg into the arm. Activating those muscles. We're not hanging out here passively. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Alright, release, come back up into your warrior two. And then turn the feet so that they're both facing the long edge of your mat away from the wall. You might just need to heel toe, shuffle yourself forward a little bit, and we're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. And just using your hands to gently, energetically drag them forward to help you get deeper into the fold. Elbows point backwards. And then come up halfway on an inhale, take your hands to hips, and then slowly come on up to stand. And we'll just take those movements on the other side. So, other foot facing forward, come into your warrior two, just adjusting your feet as necessary up against the wall. And then from here, transitioning into side angle, fingertips to the mat or to a block. And then from here, really Get hugging that knee to tricep, tricep to knee. Squeeze. Keep squeezing. Back leg is also active. Don't you forget about that back leg. All right, coming back up into warrior two. And then transitioning into our wide-legged fold once more. Okay, take 2 more breaths here. And then on your next inhale, coming up halfway onto fingertips flat back. Taking hands to hips and then slowly lifting up to stand. You'll toe your feet in together or jump back to Tadasana. All right, it's crow time. We are prepped, we are warm. Let's do this. So we have a few options. I'm going to demonstrate using wall and blocks first. This is a great option if you are really new to crow pose, if you are a bit scared of face planting. What you will want to do, and you may need to just experiment the placement of your props, as it's not always that easy to get it right. Have a cushion handy just in case. And you want to get yourself into a position where, kind of starting from Malasana, you want to be pretty close to your wall so that when you begin to straighten the legs and place your hands on your mat, your bum is probably about maybe an inch or 2 away from the mat, maybe touching. You're going to have to experiment. We're all built differently. Okay, so hands to the mat. Hips up nice and high. Engage that Hasta Bandha we practice, sucking up that milkshake. Turning the core on. Begin to round through the spine, come up onto your tiptoes, and try and get your knees as high up onto the backs of your arms as you can. From here, begin to bend at the elbows and then shift, shift, shift forward. Plonk your head on your block and then maybe one foot lifts, maybe the other foot lifts. Find your wall. And hold if you can. Maybe from here you can lift your head up from your blocks. If you can, you want to be looking forward. We look forward in our crow pose, not down. You can look forward to the eyes. You don't have to be turning your head up. And then when you're ready, release. It can be a lot on the backs of the arms. I always end up getting bruises. It's all part of the fun. Over time, your arms will build up a bit more of a tolerance if you do practice regularly. Cool. Let's try another variation. If you don't have blocks or don't want to use the blocks, another great option is to use a strap. So you want to just make a loop with your strap, and we're going to do this again using the wall. Okay. Right. And you want to get your strap about shoulder width apart. I feel like I've probably just nailed that the first time. A good way to check if you are shoulder width apart is to place your forearms on the mat. Touch opposite elbows. That's shoulder width apart. Right, from here. We're not using the bricks this time, so have your face plant pillow at the ready. Moral support from your pets is also advisable for this one. Okay, arms shoulder width apart. Strap is above the elbows. I think I forgot to mention that. Okay, let's get up into our prep pose. So that's from Malasana, straightening the legs a little bit, sending the hips up nice and high, coming up onto tiptoes, engaging the Hasta Bandha, taking the knees to as high as you can at the backs of the arms, Begin to bend through the elbows, engage the core, look forward, not down, shift forward, and then maybe you get your crow pose. Maybe you don't. Maybe you haven't set yourself upright like me and I can't get my feet on the wall. Let's try again, shuffling back. Knees up as high as you can get on the backs of the arms, rounding through the upper spine. Begin to look forward, shift forward, bend through the elbows. Maybe you lift. Maybe you're just using your little tippy toes, well, big toes, touching the wall ever so slightly, coming into your crow. Maybe your toes, oh, come off the wall. Wherever you are, you want to be, oh, sending heels up towards the bum once you have your balance. And then when you're ready, releasing or falling out, whatever happens first. The strap is just helpful for keeping you in the pose. I think it takes a bit of the weight out. I'm not honestly sure of the biomechanics of how the strap helps, but it does. Okay, I'm out of breath again. So those are the supported variations that I'm going to show you. I'd really encourage you to just press pause on this video and have a practice. But if you're ready to cool down with me, come onto your knees and just take some wrist rolls. What are you doing, Bruce? Okay, rolling the wrist in one direction and then the other. What are you digging? What are you digging? Got a bit of Bruce fluff in my eye. Oh, that is the problem when you have the world's fluffiest rabbit. Okay. All right, from here, coming back up to stand. Using our wall once again for a stretch, pressing your hands against the wall. And then just begin to come into a forward bend at the wall, stretching. You can play with sliding the hands down the wall to just change how the sensations feel. Nice, and then from here just walk in, taking forearms to the wall. And then releasing the chest down. Nice. Release. And then come into a forward fold. So taking hands to hips, bending the knees, draping the torso over the thighs. And just find a little gentle sway from side to side. Great, and then from here just stepping back into a downward dog. And lower the knees, sit the hips back to heels, child's pose. Knees can be together or wide. Anything goes. Okay, and then just slowly make your way up and transition onto your back. So we've done an awful lot of hip compression in our warm-up and while practicing crow pose. So let's just find a little bit of hip extension instead. Coming to lie on your back, soles of feet to the mat, knees up towards the ceiling, and then begin to lift the hips coming into bridge. And then release. Just taking a moment. And then when you're ready, coming up into a second bridge. Maybe this time shuffling shoulder blades in. And then maybe clasping hands. You send the hips a little bit higher. And release. From here, hug your knees in towards the chest. Find a gentle rock from side to side. If you want to take any final movement before our final resting pose Shavasana, now is your chance. But when you're ready, meet me lying down on your mat for your resting pose Shavasana. Closing down the eyes. And just making some peace with whatever happened today. If you got your crow pose, that's great. If you didn't get your crow pose, that's also great. You showed up for yourself, you did the work, you did the practice, you're on your way. Let's take a few cleansing breaths together to shake it all off and release. So take a nice, slow, deep inhale through the nose. Just pause at the top for a moment. And then release it through the mouth. Again, breathing in through the nose. Then pausing. And then release. Just letting go of what did or didn't happen. If your mind has wandered, just bringing your awareness back to your breath. Becoming aware of the physical body as you lie on your mat. Finding some movement in the fingers and the toes. Reaching arms overhead, take a full body stretch. And then when you're ready, just gently rolling onto your right side and pausing there for a moment. Just keeping the eyes closed if that feels okay for you. And then using the hands to slowly press yourself back up to sit. Taking some big shoulder rolls. From here, taking some big shoulder rolls. Then on an inhale, reaching hands overhead. Palms come to touch. Drawing hands in front of the chest. And dipping the chin, bowing forward. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I really hope you managed to get some lift, some flight in your crow pose. And if you didn't, that's perfectly okay. You're working towards it. You showed up for yourself, and that's all that matters. I would love if you could share a win in the comments below. That would really make my day. And if you liked this class, please give it a thumbs up. And I would also love it if you could subscribe to my channel for more classes with me and Floofy Bruce. I'll see you soon. Bye.